Okay, I'm going to give you some background information about the drug war in Thailand. And one of the books that I'm going to use for this is this right here. This is the second Akha Journal, The Golden Triangle, Cry Freedom. It was printed in 2003 at the end of the 90-day, well, it was actually a year-long drug war in Thailand between the U.S. government, the DEA in Chiangmai, the U.S. Consulate in Chiangmai, the U.S. Embassy, and the Thai government, Thaksin Shinawatra. And at the end of 2003, I took all my documentation and I put it into a book. And a lot of these cases are people that I either helped bury or their families called me or someone told me about the killing, and I went up to the village and investigated and took photos or got photos from the family of the deceased, and I printed them in this book. And the U.S. government was running a program with the Thais called Task Force 399. It was based in Mae Rim, Thailand, outside of Chiang Mai. And the U.S. government, the DEA, supplied military advisors. They also supplied listening gear, sniper rifles that were silenced, and other military equipment. And the Thais were busy basically doing a little bit of ethnic cleansing up in the mountains. And the U.S. government is definitely culpable for what was going on in their joint project with the Thai government. And so what they would do is they would stop. Thaksin Shinawatra said, you make up lists, and then he said, you get rid of everybody on the list, 75%, and if you don't, we're going to cut the funding to your police department. And so the Thais just murdered people right and left, not just Akha, but Thai people also. And they oftentimes just shot them in the road, you know, stop their car and shoot and kill them. And I'll give you some examples. This is, I won't remember all the names because it's been a long while, but this is one fellow. He was shot in the back of the head, point blank range, by a policeman in the Mae Chan Police Department. This is his wife. Okay, and this man had one eye. He was shot in bed in his hut, and his wife was shot too, and he ran out of the hut and he was chased down and shot until he was dead. This man was shot when he was sitting out in front of his hut at a fire. He was shot from in behind. Someone walked up and shot him with an AK-47. He has 3 sons that he left behind. This man was beaten. Let's see what we got here. We got more pictures. This one was put in prison. They eventually released her. They stole the money from this family. This man was beaten. There's a bullet round that was shot through a house at night, a hut. The army, police just come up and start firing through a hut. This man was murdered. This man was murdered, disappeared. Neither one of these were ever found. This man was killed. The husband of this woman was beaten to death by Thai Army troops in Memo, Akha village. This man was beaten after I left Thailand. He was murdered by the army. This man was beaten. I got the army to return him to his village. And let's see what else. Who else we got here? And like I say, you know, like I'll give you an example. These 5 guys, and there was a 6th guy, but I couldn't get the photo. They're Yao, and they stopped. They were the headmen of a village. They stopped the truck on the road. They called him to a meeting at the government office. This was the standard procedure. After he leaves the government office, then on the way home, they've got some guys waiting in the road with machine guns. They stop the vehicle and they kill everybody in the vehicle. And these guys, they shot them all, and some of them tried to run, and they shot them so many times their guts came out. And the villagers told me when they went back and cleaned them up, you know, cleaned up the mess, because they told them, hey, all these guys are down the road, they're all dead. The one guy had 1 leg, this guy only had 1 leg. Anyway, they killed all of them. There were 6 of them. And that was one case. These two headmen were from Huameicom. They stopped them. They called them to the government office on the way home. They killed both of them. They shot a third man, but he escaped. This is their vehicle that was all shot up. This is this headman's mom and dad. And the headman that replaced these two guys, the two headmen that replaced them, they stopped them a ways up the road and murdered them too about a month later. And Thai police vehicles were all around the scene. This man, they stopped him on the road, shot him in the head. They shot his wife in this side, out this side. She falls on the ground. The guy empties a 9mm clip into her chest, and that's where all these bullet holes are from. And she lived and told me the story. Their son was 21. They shot him in the face and in the back and took all his money. This guy was chased on a motorbike, and they shot him and threw his body off a cliff. This guy was killed. This is the same picture as this kid down here with his mom and dad. This guy was killed. This is Li Hu and another friend in the village. They were called to the police station. They were stopped on the way to the police station and on a motorbike, and they were both shot dead. And I got to the village about an hour after this happened, and they opened the caskets, and I took probably 40 pictures of the bodies of these two. And I knew this fellow, and they were executed at point blank range. And that was how the killings were done in many, many cases. And so this is from 2003, and the people, the officers in the Thai Army and police who we know were involved in killing people, they should have been put on a list under the Leahy Amendment for vetting Thai security forces in the U.S. Embassy, so that they couldn't be involved in Cobra Gold, U.S. training in the United States, U.S. programs in Thailand. They'd be off the list for human rights abuses. No one was ever put on that list that we know of, maybe a couple people, that was it. The General Accounting Office says those lists were never drawn up and done. And so basically the embassy wasn't doing its job from 2000 to 2008. And we have a international criminal court case about these killings and other killings, and we're going to keep pursuing this. And this was during the Bush administration, and Bush's agreements with Thaksin Shinawatra and the drug war and military assistance, DEA assistance. Why do we have all these DEA guys thrashing around in northern Thailand? I mean, there's drugs all over the world. California is a narco state, $6 billion in marijuana per year. It's a narco state, so why are we off in another country killing poor people with no evidence? Just if the police want to kill them, they kill them, and that's how it goes. So America and how it operates around the world is extremely messed up, and we don't have the U.S. government stopping people in Ukiah, California, and just shooting them down on the road because they're suspected to be marijuana growers. I mean,